these good ideas, it just sort of dies out. All these great.
Yeah. That's what those of us in the House say, that people think Russia's the enemy. No, it's the Senate. The Senate is the enemy.
I don't know if I should edit that out or not, but that's some of the best radio we've had so far. You know, Congressman, the good thing about your bill with talking about the remittance is not only are you getting those benefiting from our lax laws to pay for the wall, it's keeping money within the American economy as well. And that's got to be a bonus that's attractive to co-sponsors of the bill, like Congressman Mo Brooks, I believe, is a co-sponsor, right?
Co-sponsor, and it is. And also, it's a fee. You don't have to pay it if you don't want to. You know, if you don't want to pay the fee, don't transfer money out of the country. So it's one of the reasons we're not calling it a tax, because nobody has to pay this. You pay this fee if you want that service of a remittance. And by the way, to make sure that the banks were not feeling like we were putting an undue burden on them, we're allowing them to keep 5% of what they retain in this 2% fee to cover their costs for handling this. So there are no mandates that are unpaid for in this bill for business.
So no losers, yeah. I mean, I was reading a little bit about you earlier, and I see the Department of Homeland Security, you're involved with that, and it always irked me for some reason. If I travel from one port of entry within this country to another, I get frisked by TSA, and my mother goes through the same thing. But yet, you can sneak across the border, and no one's checking anything on most of the people that are coming across.
Amazing. Tell you and the other thing that really is amazing. I've been to the detention facilities and watched when they're debriefing illegals they just captured. One of the fascinating things is many of these people have been captured for the 16th, 18th, 20th time. The people debriefing them know their names, know their family names, know all about them. But the really interesting thing is when they debrief them, they will tell the officer anything they want to know, because they have no fear, because they know all you're going to do is feed them, put them on a bus, take them back across the border, and they can come again tomorrow. There is no downside to these people continuing to come until they're successful.
Unreal.
Well, listen, we're glad that you're in the 3rd Congressional District of Alabama fighting for all this. I know you got to go. You got to make the rounds. There are votes eminent, possibly. Money and people is what make the political world go around, and re-elections are coming up next year. It's a very important election. If people want to help support you in your efforts to get reelected to Congress, how do they go about doing that?
MikeRogersForCongress.com.
Simple, quick, to the point. Congressman, thank you so much. Behind Enemy Lines. Here I go. Let's see if I get this right. Welcome back to the show, the Director of Activism for Numbers USA, Chris Shimolinski. Did I do it?
You did.
All right. Nice I am 1 for 2 with Chris in doing that. Chris, thanks for coming back, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about where we are now compared to where we were last year. Last year, everyone was pretty pensive watching what was going on, especially with the election. This year at FAIR, what a difference in attitude and mood here, right?
Yeah, definitely a little bit more hope. And FAIR always manages to do a great job of scheduling when there happens to be an immigration vote on the House floor.
It's amazing. Last year there was a Supreme Court decision came down. And this year, Kate's Law and No Sanctuary for Criminals Act.
Yeah. So it's a good time, and hopefully these two bills. We actually would like to see Davis Oliver, which both Kate's Law and the No Sanctuary for Criminals Act were pulled out of. We hope House brings Davis Oliver to the floor, but we think today's votes should maybe create a little momentum in the House.
So you're a numbers guy, Chris. Let's talk some numbers.
Sure.
How do we figure out, I guess the word quota has like some negative connotations attached to it, but how do we figure out numbers from countries, from where, how many?
Yeah, we can't verify all these countries
on these things with the wall.
Let's go back to the joke. The Syrian DMV is probably not the most reliable organization in the world. How do we verify that who we're getting is who we're getting, and the numbers actually met out to what they are and should be?
Yeah, and this issue really came up when the refugee situation really came to the forefront, maybe 12, 18 months ago. And you even had Obama administration officials testifying before Congress, and they're like, listen, we're bombing Assad. We can't exactly go up to him and say, hey, can we have access to your crime database to find out if these people that we're bringing in are actually good
Something
people?
Tells me that wouldn't work.
No, I don't think. Not only would he not hand over that information, but in all likelihood, he probably doesn't have it because they just don't have that kind of infrastructure that we have here. So it is difficult, and we look at the Supreme Court decision from a couple of days ago. I think that really served as the basis for what Trump tried to do with those two executive orders, the one in January and then the one that he rewrote and issued again in March with with the travel ban orders. We can't properly vet these people. So let's just suspend it for 90 days, 120 days, and let's see what we can do. See if we can improve our vetting process in those 90 days, 120 days, and then make a decision after that, what we do moving forward.
And I mean, as a country, do we not have the right to decide who comes here, what type of people, what education level? I mean, It's almost nonsensical to ask the question, but...
One would think that national sovereignty still matters to folks, and that borders still mean something, and and that's really what Trump capitalized on during the campaign. He just is all about USA, America first. Somehow that got pushed aside, and globalism was able to prevail, especially in the second half of Obama's presidency. So I think we're starting, at least in the immigration system, starting to move a little bit more towards an America first, an immigration policy that serves in the American interests. That was something that Trump mentioned in his joint speech to Congress that he gave back in February or March. He said we need to have a merit-based immigration system that serves the national interest. That dates all the way back to the Jordan Commission from 1996, last bipartisan congressional commission on immigration that was chaired by the late Barbara Jordan. They said we need to have an immigration system that serves the national interest, not one that serves the interests of foreign nationals. It should benefit American citizens and the legal permanent residents who are already here.
And isn't setting a number through legislation, the official number for authorized immigrants, almost irrelevant when you have an open border that we can't control the number coming through from there?
Yeah, certainly. If you're not enforcing immigration laws, then that's what you have, is open borders and a lack of national sovereignty. That is one of the good things that we've seen so far with the Trump administration, and it's not so much anything that he's done specifically. He's ordered an end to catch and release. He's expanded prosecutorial discretion for Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Border Patrol. But there haven't been any major significant changes. It's just the change of talk, just him saying, hey, listen, you can't come to the country illegally. If you try to cross the border illegally, we're going to turn you around and send you back home. It was a different story, especially in 2014, 2015 under the Obama administration, where they kind of rolled out the red carpet and you had open borders, essentially. As long as you could get here, the permisios, you get here, you can stay. And that's what the deal was. There's a 5-year backlog before you can get in front of an immigration judge. So if you can just get here and all you're given is a notice to appear and they just send you on your way, then you're here. You can just blend into 325 million people and nobody will know.
And there's no real teeth behind that notice to appear. You could not show up and go into the wind and never be heard from again. There's no enforcement mechanism behind that. It's games lawyers play, and for now, the left has been winning on that. Can we beef that up to have a penalty? Maybe, God, I can't believe I'm saying this as an attorney, but can we sanction the attorney for their client not appearing properly?
I don't know that aspect of it, but to me,
would you want to sanction the attorney for not having their client appear?
And deport the attorney along.
We only take a position on the immigration numbers.
I appreciate the diplomatic response. Now, when turning to the actual immigration numbers, how do we formulate this policy and balance the equity, so to speak? How do we say that we need X number of, H-1B or whatever the case may be? Who culminates those numbers and recommends them?
I guess it depends who you talk to, exactly. My position, our position, is that, again, as we've been saying, immigration should serve in the national interest. It should benefit the country, whether it be legal permanent residency through the Green Card program or whether it be through the H-1B process, the H-2B process, the other guest worker programs that are out there, the L-1 visa, H-2A visa for agricultural workers, should benefit American workers. What we've seen in this country, and I'm guessing you guys have probably talked about it, that we've basically had flat wages for the last 15, 20 years, regardless of the industry, whether we're talking about the tech industry or whether we're talking about food service. Wages have remained flat. If there's truly a labor shortage in the United States, wages would go up. That's just the simple, basic economic principle of the laws of supply and demand.
Believe in all that
if
food.
Believe in all that stuff. Yeah. So, if there is truly a labor shortage, wages should go up. We're not seeing wages rise, so therefore we don't have a labor shortage. That should give you an idea of how many immigrants we should be allowing into the country right now.
So the short answer is it's not based on rainbows and dreams and what we wish things to be. There's actual numbers behind it. There's actual merit.
Benefits because we have a diverse diversity is.
Oh, you know what? There I go again, being so uncompassionate again. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
No, but I think that Chris brings up an excellent point. We've spoken about this many times. The people who get hurt the most by an influx of immigrants, of unskilled laborers, they lower wages, are minorities living in urban areas who are low skilled or undereducated because of the school districts they happen to live in. Get hurt the most by an influx of cheap labor.
And here comes the vicious cycle. That keeps those lower skilled workers who are American dependent upon social services promulgated by Democrats. And when those immigrants can no longer find work, as you said, the job market has been kind of stagnant, it increases the roles of those programs and expands them and puts more people on them. So therefore the Democrats can say, look at all we're doing for all these poor people.
Right, exactly. And not just the minority groups that are hurt the most, but the recent legal immigrants, too. Recent legal immigrants tend to be lower skilled and are competing with the brand new ones that are coming in, as well as illegal aliens. So it's definitely our most vulnerable populations that are hurt the most by these massive levels of immigration, and the ones who are benefiting the most are the business leaders who are seeing their profit margins drive up. Look at the stock market. Stock market's going like crazy right now. Mark Zuckerberg started Forward.us. He doesn't want to pay computer programmers in Silicon Valley a living wage. A living wage in Silicon Valley is like $180,000. He doesn't want to pay him that. He wants to pay him $70,000. And he doesn't want them to have the freedom to be able to change jobs to get a higher wage. So he loves the H-1B program because it locks those workers in for 6 years to work for his company, and he can pay them bottom-of-the-barrel wages.
And I find this offensive when I hear it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, like you just described some jobs in Silicon Valley. Are these jobs that Americans refuse to do? What is a job that Americans refuse to do? I get offended every time I hear this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there aren't any Americans who want to work for Facebook as a computer programmer.
Right? This is insanity. Yeah. Why do we import people to do these jobs?
It truly is. And then the H-2B visa, which is a completely separate visa program, but it's usually used by landscapers, food service, stuff like that. These were jobs that I did when I was in high school and in college, and all my friends did before these programs existed.
How incredibly offensive is it? I worked in a kitchen when I was a kid, too, in high school. I don't understand. I'm an American born here. These are jobs Americans will do.
Exactly. I was a dishwasher in high school. So, yeah, you know what? I was willing to do it because I wanted a couple extra bucks in my back pocket. So.
There you go. Last question for me, then we're going to wrap things up, and we're going to do all the plugs and everything. Were you responsible for the gumball video?
I cannot take any credit for that. That's all Roy Beck, our president and founder. Quick story about that. He actually developed that story as a way to explain immigration to his kids' elementary school class. So he's like, how can I simplify immigration so, 8-year-olds will understand it? So he came up with the gumball video. Somebody told him, hey, you should turn this into a presentation. They taped it back in 1996. It went crazy. We retaped it again since I've been involved. We retaped it in 2010. And as I was saying, I was telling you guys before we got on, it's had 100 million views in the last year and a half. That's taking off.
That's amazing. In the last year and a half.
Yep.
That's amazing, Russ. And Russ Gallow's going to be 100 million and one because I got to show him the video. Listen, Chris, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, Numbers USA on social media and all that. And listen, we're going to continue the conversation as we always do, either here at FAIR or otherwise. And it's always great to have you on, man.
Sure. Thanks for having me. NumbersUSA.com is our website. If you want to get on our email list, click on the green button up top that says join us. We're on Twitter at NumbersUSA, and we're also on Facebook. We have 7 million Facebook fans, so very active Facebook community. Feel free to join it, Numbers USA, and click like.
Awesome stuff. Chris, thanks so much for coming on, man. Getting ready to wrap up our coverage here at FAIR's Hold Their Feet to the Fire Radio Row 2-day event. Probably the most fitting guest we could have, the president of FAIR, Dan Stein. Dan, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us to this. We've had such an amazing 2 days here.
Well, Gene and Russ, it wouldn't be the same without you, and it's awfully nice you came by, and I think a lot of folks felt talking to you was a highlight of their day.
I got that on tape, Russ. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, that
Russ
caught
is
me off guard.
speechless. Russ is really speechless.
That was very nice of you, sir. I appreciate that.
Well, we want you to come back. You know?
Oh, we will be coming back.
Listen, I mean, the point is, talk radio and the internet version of it. This engages a very important audience: smart, capable, engaged Americans who are trying to bring about positive change.